All right, last week, JBS agrees to pay $52.5 million to settle a beef price fixing lawsuit. And that's pretty much all that was reported. But there's a lot more to it than that, and I feel like there's a lot more that the consumer should know going forward when they read these headlines. And so what the beef price fixing lawsuit is there's actually two of them. The first one was filed in April of 2019 by a cattlemen's organization called RCAF, and a number of individual cattle feeders. And they're suing Tyson Foods, JBS, Cargill, and National Beef. And those four corporations make up 85% of all the beef sold in the U.S. And what they're alleging is that those four corporations are working together, colluding together to reduce their production and control the cattle prices. And so when that suit was filed, a company called Pacific Agri Products saw that what they were doing there, or what they were alleging, also affects their prices. They buy beef from those companies, and it's affected their prices. So they pretty much took the exact word for word RCAF, all the evidence in the RCAF lawsuit, and just used it on the wholesale end of buying beef. And so what it includes is this chart right here. And this is, your red line is your cattle prices. Your blue columns here are your retail beef prices. And, this starts in 2010. As you can see, both of those, they kind of affect each other, or they parallel each other there, up until 2015. And that's when this lawsuit starts. And what they're saying is, at that time, those four corporations agreed to reduce production. And what that does by reducing production, you're reducing the amount of beef available to the retail consumer, so you're increasing that demand and you're driving that price up. You're also reducing the number of cattle you're butchering, so you're going to increase the supply of cattle. You're going to push that price down. What's in between here are these massive profit margins that the beef packers have been making for the past 7 years. And as you can see here, the last couple years during COVID, it is literally off the charts. And so the evidence they use to get to that, besides just the fact that it's happening, is they also have a whistleblower who worked for one of the beef packers for 10 years. And he is listed as a witness in the lawsuit. And the lawsuit says he reports having multiple discussions with the fabrication manager, who is the guy in charge of how many cattle get butchered, and during which the fabrication manager explained that all four of the defendants, meaning all four of those beef packers listed, they agreed to reduce the purchase of fed cattle and slaughter volume. For example, during one conversation, the fabrication manager specifically admitted that defendants had an agreement. That's the collusion, that's the illegal part, when they all agree to do it together, to reduce their purchase and slaughter volumes in response to what they perceived to be high fed cattle prices. He was told, we have had that agreement that we don't kill while prices are up for a while. And so that's what causes all this. And the other part of the evidence, there's a whole pile of evidence. These lawsuits are, I don't know how many pages long. But the other part that I thought was pretty important was, in this time here, there's about a 30-month span where all four of these corporations, between them, they closed down 12 different packing plants. And so if you're looking here and you're getting these profit margins after you're used to, getting minimal profit margins, and all of a sudden you're hitting these, and your competitor's closing down a packing plant, wouldn't you want more of that market share? Or would you shut down your packing plant also to just keep that? If they all agreed to shut it down, it would just keep that price going down, and then you end up with this kind of profit margin. But if you were competing, you wouldn't do that. And so what it really comes down to, all of this is illegal activity, and the organization in charge of policing the activity or enforcing the laws is the USDA. And if they have been doing their job, these lawsuits wouldn't even exist. Like if they really enforced the Packers and Stockyards Act and the antitrust laws that are already on the books, this wouldn't happen. And so what it comes down to is, for the past 7 years, the beef consumer has just been getting ripped off when it comes to beef prices. But what I feel like is the most important thing to me is this red line. And that represents, this is people's lives and families and farms and ranches and generations upon generations of farms and ranches and their ability to survive and continue. And that those people are being robbed of that. This JBS $50 million doesn't really mean anything. It grabs all the headlines, but in the scheme of things, it doesn't mean anything. What means something is there are men and women going out 7 days a week, rain, wind, snow, cold, feeding these cattle, keeping these cattle healthy. And all they want, they're not looking to get rich. All they really want is just the ability to make a living and continue to do what they're doing, and make a decent living. And they're being robbed of that. And that's what needs to be remembered.